Oh, good morning. Happy Monday to you. It is Monday, the August 11th, and it is a beautiful day out this morning. A little bit of cloud cover. I thought for sure we'd get some rain last night, but we did not get any rain last night. So what can I say? I remember asking our little friend in the box, can I say her name? Yeah, Alexa. If I say it, then she'll listen to me. I don't want her listening to me right now, but Alexa. Said that it's going to rain on Wednesday of this week. So we have 2 more days and then it'll start raining on Wednesday. But I think the monsoon season officially ends like in 4 days. So, or maybe it's September. I don't know, but it's way too hot for my comfort level. I like it where there's rain every afternoon. And that's just, apparently there's a warm front or something that's nestled over Tucson that's preventing us from getting the monsoon rains, and that makes me very sad. And I hope you all had a great weekend. Yeah, so one of the things that I don't know if I should say, but I guess I probably should. Yeah, but we lost our buddy Dick last night. And so he is safe in the arms of Jesus, and we are looking forward to seeing him again. He was a great, great friend, very, very good helper, like huge helper, incredible. And whenever I needed anything, I could always rely on Dick. He did things like move my car, water. I mean, he did all sorts of things when it was necessary, and just very, very grateful for that. And huge force behind the starting of our congregation, a huge force behind Christ Youth and Vale. So I don't know anything more than that. And I pray God's peace for all of us as we mourn his loss. In one respect, he the last several times I saw him, he just wanted to be with Polly. And there's really nothing you can do about that, especially when you're his age and rely so much on other people. It was a challenging end to his life, but we had some really, really good conversations. And I'm grateful for his life and his legacy. All right. What else? I think let's go into our birthdays. It is the 11th. There's one birthday today, is Gabe Wallen. So happy birthday, Gabe. I'll get rid of that. I'll get rid of this. All right. Let us go ahead and get into our study. And we are in Leviticus chapter 13. I can find Leviticus chapter 13. Yeah, so we left off yesterday last time at verse 11. And let me just hold on a second, make sure I'm at the right location. It's been kind of a crazy life, huh? All right, so Leviticus chapter 13, verse 11. We're going to start at verse 12. And we just got through the skin disease. And the skin disease is, we call it modern day leprosy. The Hebrew word that they have for here is, let me see if I can find it. It was right here. Yeah, it's zara'at, which is often translated as leprosy, but it refers to a range of skin conditions, of which leprosy would be one of them. And leprosy, modern day leprosy, is actually Hansen's disease. I did not know this. So I was doing some research into Hansen's disease. Let's see if I can pull this up. Maybe I can. Yeah. Leprosy, also known as Hansen's disease, is a long-term infection by the bacteria Mycobacterium leprae, or Microbacterium lepromatosis. Infection can lead to damage of the nerves, respiratory, tract, skin, and eyes. This nerve damage may result in a lack of ability to feel pain, which can lead to the loss of parts of a person's extremities from repeated injuries or infection through unnoticed wounds. An infected person may also experience muscle weakness and poor eyesight. Leprosy symptoms may begin within 1 year or may take 20 years or more to occur. Leprosy is spread between people through extensive contact. Although extensive contact is necessary, leprosy has a low pathogenicity, and 95% of people who contract or who are exposed to it do not develop the disease. It's mostly spread through cough or contact with fluid. Okay, so let me just my understanding of leprosy, and I'm not an expert in this at all, is that it starts to deteriorate the nerves so you can't feel when you've injured your foot, for example. Let's say you get a severe injury on your toe, and you don't even know that your toe is injured, and maybe you don't even look down at your feet all that often, and all of a sudden it gets into an infection, and that's where people lose their toes. I think it's probably not something that we experience a lot here anymore. It looks like it's treatable. It looks like it's the very, very, very low spread rate. But back at the time of Moses, it would have been something that would have been very, very horrible. And so if you had any sort of skin disease, not just leprosy, but the ones that we're talking about here, you had to go show yourself to the priest. And apparently there's just something about these skin diseases that the priest wanted to make sure you're completely clean before you went back and lived with the people. And the bad thing about leprosy is that apparently you never got clean again. And so they wanted to permanently separate you. The priest would permanently separate you from the people. And that would not be good. So anyway, let's see. So the priest examines them. If the disease has covered the whole body, he shall pronounce them clean. Since it has all turned white, they are clean. But whenever raw flesh appears on them, they will be unclean. Verse 15, I think. But when the priest sees the raw flesh, he shall pronounce them unclean. The raw flesh is unclean. They have a defiling disease. If the raw flesh changes and turns white, they must go to the priest. The priest is then to examine them, and if the sores have turned white, the priest shall pronounce the affected person clean, and then they'll be clean. So this is a little bit of a diagnosis doctor thing going on. I mean, the priest looks at the injury, and if the injury is still, you know what this looks like, right? The injury, you can tell any skin disease. This would even, like, let's say you scratch yourself and you put antibiotics on or whatever, or some sort of mercurochrome when we were growing up. I don't even know if they do that anymore. That's got mercury. I mean, iodine maybe, or some sort of disinfectant that you put on a bottle of that spray stuff that they sell down at the store that stings. You know what I'm talking about? That stuff. You put that on and you wrap it up, and then you go back a couple days later, and if it's healed and it doesn't look like it's infected and it's just kind of healing, great. But if it starts to get pussy or infected or that sort of thing, then the lesion could break. And if the lesion breaks and there's that fluid, and that fluid could get on somebody else and maybe in a lesion that they have, then the infection could start all over again. And so it really does make sense, this whole leprosy thing. Like if you got a skin disease, you have to separate yourself. You have to watch it. And if it doesn't turn infected, then you're okay. Go show yourself to the priest. He looks at it and goes, yeah, this doesn't look infected. You're fine. If it does look infected, he's like, you got to still continue to be away from people. And the leprosy is it never went away. Like leprosy is it's always looking infected. And so you were always unclean. And of course, we're social animals. We cannot live without other people in our life. It is a little bit more easy to do today because we can do online banking and online schooling, and entertainment is online. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can do today to isolate a person and give them, some semblance of reacting with other people from an emotional standpoint. But without that, like they say, if you're in a prison and you go to solitary confinement, that's like the worst thing you could possibly imagine. because we are social creatures. All right. Yeah, it's a defiling disease. Well, let's continue on. When someone has a burn on their skin and a reddish white or white spot appears in the raw flesh of the burn, the priest is to examine the spot. And if the hair in it has turned white and appears to be more than skin deep, it is a defiling disease that has broken out of the burn. The priest shall pronounce them unclean. It is a defiling skin disease. But if the priest examines it and there is no white hair in the spot, and if it is not more than skin deep and has faded, then the priest is to isolate them for 7 days. On the 7th day, the priest is to examine that person, and if it is spreading in the skin, the priest shall pronounce them unclean. It is a defiling skin disease. If, however, the spot is unchanged and does not spread in the skin, but has faded, it is a swelling from the burn, and the priest shall pronounce them clean. It is only a scar from the burn. So I guess they got burned quite a bit to have a chapter in Leviticus or a section in Leviticus about being burned. Have you ever been burned before? I've not had many burns. They're very, very painful. And you put ice on it or whatever. And I'm very, very grateful that it's painful because it makes you very, very aware of anything hot. It's like to stay away from anything hot because it could hurt you. Because once you've been, you've touched the stove and you've felt that pain, you don't want to do it again. And I think probably there's something about the skin disease. Maybe it's because it's the largest organ in the body. But there's something about skin disease that you really, really don't want to get any sort of skin disease. And so therefore, the sensations in the skin are very, very strong so that it prevents you from trying to get burned or other things, scratches, scraps, burns, lesions, all those sort of things. And there's just a process here. If you get a skin cut, disease, whatever, you go show yourself to the priest in 7 days, and if it looks like it's healed, then great, move on with your life. It doesn't look like it's healed, then you can't. You have to still separate. I mean, so it seems like the priest is kind of like an early doctor, what we would call the general practitioner. They would have one in the village, and you'd go, and that person would know these things and would help you out. All right, let's see. Someone says they had a gas stove explode. Not fun. Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun at all. I can't even imagine a gas stove. I can't imagine any sort of... I remember when we lived in Phoenix, there was an accident that happened on Missouri Drive around 18th Street. And a fuel truck exploded. And all the palm trees around that intersection had burn marks on them. And that probably happened when I was 10, maybe 12 years old. So let's say mid-70s. And by the mid-90s, those palm trees were still there and you could still see those burn marks. And every once in a while, you'd notice them and you'd say, if there was somebody in the car, you'd say, hey, there was an accident here. It was a fuel truck that exploded 20, 30 years ago, and the damage is still there. Fortunately, humans were created, God created humans to repair themselves very, very, very well, to which I'm very grateful. I mean, it doesn't say this here, but can you imagine what life would be if the body was not created to heal itself? If the skin didn't repair, if bones didn't repair, if all these things didn't repair, how horrible it would be to live your life. I mean, basically, the first time that you got an injury, you'd be toast, right? Because you wouldn't repair. So you'd be like permanently leprosy, just constantly getting sicker and sicker and having body parts fall off more and more until you finally died. It would be just a horrible way to live your life. And yet, God, in his infinite wisdom and marvelous creation power, created us so that we do not do that, to which I'm grateful. All right, verse 29. If a man or woman has a sore on their head or chin, the priest is to examine the sore, and if it appears to be more than skin deep, and the hair in it is yellow and thin, the priest shall pronounce them unclean. It is a defiling skin disease on the head or chin. But if, when the priest examines the sore, it does not seem to be more than skin deep, and there is no black hair in it, then the priest is to isolate the affected person for 7 days. On the seventh day, the priest is to examine the sore, and if it has not spread, there is no yellow hair in it, and does not appear to be more than skin deep. Then the man or woman must shave themselves except for the affected area, and the priest is to keep them isolated another 7 days. On the seventh day, the priest is to examine the sore, and if it has not spread in the skin and appears to be no more than skin deep, the priest shall pronounce them clean. They must wash their clothes, and they will be clean. But if the sore does not spread in the skin after they're pronounced clean, the priest is to examine them, and if he finds that the sore has spread in the skin, he does not need to look for yellow hair. They are unclean. If, however, the sore is unchanged so far as the priest can see, and if the black hair has grown in it, the affected person is healed. They are clean, and the priest shall pronounce them clean. I wonder if this is cancer. What kind of man or woman has a sore on their head or chin? I guess it could be an injury. But if you start getting sores, just random sores, not from an injury, on your head or skin, it probably would fall under the general, category of cancer of some sort, melanoma or some other thing. And so you go to the priest, and they examine you after 7 days, and if it goes away in 7 days, then you're clean or unclean. So that 7-day period is really key. I know that bone injuries heal in about 6 to 8 weeks. I know that muscle injuries can take a lot longer. I hurt myself, I had a muscle injury in my knee. I'm going on 11 weeks now. And it's just now starting to the point where I can walk. I feel it every once in a while, but there are a lot of times when I don't feel it at all. I mean, I think it's going to take maybe even another month before it's completely gone. I don't feel it anymore. But it's just amazing how long some of these things take. Well, the skin disease here that they're talking about is 7 days. And in that period of time, you have no idea what the outcome is going to be. And so there's a little bit of fear and anxiety. And this is the same anxiety that you go in and they take out they remove a mass from some part of your body, and then they're going to send it to the lab to see if it's cancerous. And the lab results come back, and yes, it is cancerous, or it's a slow-moving cancer, it's a fast-moving cancer, or no, it's not cancer at all. It was just a lump that was there or some sort of mass somewhere. And during that period of time between your initial diagnosis and then, or initial where you see it and to the point where they actually can identify exactly what it is a very scary time. I think it is probably, of all of the things, because people can deal with the truth. You rip the Band-Aid off, there's a little bit of pain, but then once people come to grips with what is there, their mind starts to process it. And they start going through the 7 stages of grief if necessary or whatever. I mean, the truth is, but not knowing what the truth is, then your mind starts to go to all the different possibilities of what could happen. And this, I think, is more damaging and dangerous than just simply knowing the truth. And so when you are faced with bad news, we can deal with it. When you're faced with unknowns, it's just harder to deal with. Notice this in a lot of people for many, many, many different things. So if you know the truth, the best thing you can do to somebody is to tell them the truth. Don't let them, wait. If you're the doctor and you've got a diagnosis, get as soon as you can. We've received the lab results and it's positive, or we received the lab results and it's negative, or whatever. But try to see that person as soon as possible, because that information is 1,000 times better than waiting and just not knowing. We have an incredible capacity in our brain to climb up the ladder of inference. It's an inside ball term here in the Hook family, where you start just assuming what may progress, and the possibilities that you can come up with can be very, very challenging. Of course, the best way to live our life is to say it doesn't matter what it is. If it's a cancer or it's not cancer, if it's whatever, right? I can deal with it because I don't know how I'm going to deal with the short term and I don't know what the impacts are going to be, but I know in the end that Jesus Christ is going to walk with me throughout this whole thing. And the worst possible thing that could happen is I die and then I'm with him forever. And what could be better than that? So it's hard. I don't know how people without faith deal with the in-between time. People without faith can deal with the news. Okay, I'm going to die. And, people without faith have figured out that. But it's that in-between time. And what you identify as that in-between time. I think for me, okay, so I got a diagnosis or I'm getting a test done and I don't know what the results of the test are. It's fine. Jesus is in charge. It's harder, I think, when you've got children living with you and that you're responsible for. But at this point, I know that if something happened to me, Jennifer would probably go find a nunnery somewhere and serve. I don't know what she'd do. But she'd be fine. She'd have grief, but she'd be fine. If something happened to her, I would be a basket case forever. So I don't know. And I wouldn't go find a monastery. My monastery is God's creation. That's my monastery. All right. I don't know if that made any sense. I don't know if any of that. Yeah. Let's go on. Verse 38. When a man or woman has white spots on the skin, the priest is to examine them. And if the spots are dull white, it is harmless rash that is broken out on the skin. They're clean. A man who has lost his hair and is bald is clean. Thank goodness. I know a lot of bald men that are very happy about this, right? If he's lost his hair from the front of his scalp and has a bald forehead, he is clean. But if he has reddish white sore on his bald head or forehead, it is a defiling disease breaking out on his head or forehead. The priest is to examine him, and if the swollen sore on his head or forehead is reddish white like the defiling skin disease, the man is diseased and is unclean. The priest shall pronounce him unclean because the sore on his head. Anyone with such a defiling disease must wear torn clothes, let their hair be unkempt, cover the lower part of their face, and they cry out, unclean, unclean. As long as they have the disease, they remain unclean. They must live alone. They must live outside the camp. So if any of these diseases happen and you're unclean, you have to do these things. You have to tear your clothes. Your hair has to be unkept so that people can identify from a distance, okay, he's got torn clothes, his hair is unkept, and he's covered the lower part of his face, which is amazing because that's where a lot of diseases are spread, is through the mouth and spittle and that sort of thing. And they have to cry out, unclean, unclean. And this is the condition of the lepers that encountered Jesus. They shouted, unclean, unclean. There were 10 of them. And Jesus healed one of them, or he healed all the lepers, but only one came back. Ungrateful lepers they were. All right. So I think we'll leave it there, and we'll pick up at verse 47 tomorrow. Let's close in prayer. Gracious God, thank you for this day. Watch over us all and help us in our grief. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. So thank you for joining me. Yes, as soon as I find out anything else, I will. I'm sure at some point the congregation will send out some information, and maybe the question is what to send out. So I might have to figure that out. Yeah, I wouldn't be spreading it too far and wide until the official word comes out, but just want to let you all know. All right, so God's blessings on your day, and we will meet again tomorrow, and talk to you later. Bye.